Hi, my name is Vanessa. I'm a horror writer and I'm writing a novel in 2 years. So the legend goes, and we're on week, I think, like 9. I am a TV writer by job. I've written for shows like How to Get Away with Murder. I've written for The Sandman, both seasons, RIP. And I've written for season 2 of Fate the Winx Saga, and I've worked on anime projects. So my horror novel, real quick, it is a dual perspective horror novel. It's told mostly from the perspective of a monster who is looking through the memories of the last person that it ate because it's suddenly dying and trying to figure out what about this person's last moments is contributing to its death. So we're getting that kind of retrospective, what the fuck is going on with me, through the monster, and we're also seeing the last few moments of this person's life. Boom, period. Ate that up. Today I want to talk about something that I am very passionate about, apparently, like as of last episode, and that is talking about the health and well-being of us as artists, because it's giving crust. I'm not really a fan of like the vibe of writers and like how we're taking care of ourselves and not taking care of ourselves. I know that not everyone's able to move, and I know a lot of artists are artists because we have chronic conditions. Whether that is being immobile, whether that's mental health chronic conditions, whether that's pain, there's a lot of different things that artists have going on, which is part of what makes us great. But now, if I hear one more fellow writer talking about, you know, I should go to the gym. Let's pick a sport, let's pick an activity, and let's get our little bodies moving. I guess this is kind of speaking in ableist terms, so I have to figure out where, you're gonna hear me working through this live. So if I get things wrong and if anything is just not kosher, you know, I deeply apologize, but I'm gonna try to work through it as I'm talking. This is more from my perspective and as far as what I have the ability to do. So I feel like when we're in high school, we're placed in these categories of like, you know, you're the math person, you're the chess person. I wasn't. I did what I wanted to do. Just through this weird conditioning and this sick, like, categorization that we're exposed to very early, a lot of us are kind of like, also with just like tryouts and things, like a lot of us are thrust out of certain parts of experience because we're not good enough. And a lot of artists have either been told they're not good at stuff and they're able to find solace in their writing because it's a very individual thing. But it's like a kind of siloed community that where you're not necessarily told no, and that the barrier of entry is just you and the medium, and you can try. It's also a way to kind of express a lot of feelings of isolation and working through emotion that you might have at an early age or an older age. It doesn't really matter. I write for both a career and for a hobby. Writing is a very sedentary activity that is already a bit of an issue. So I understand how difficult it can be. You're looking up and hours later, it's nighttime, you're tired, your hands are cramping, but like, let's get over it. Let's get over it, please. I also have chronic health issues, so I'm very sympathetic to that. Some of my favorite artists use movement as a way to kind of spur their creativity. It was a part of their creative practice. And remember a couple weeks ago when I talked about the Wonder Book and I talked about how to get creative outputs and what to put inside your body? I think the reason why we are going to see a lot of artists and authors who go and move their body and go outside is less about like, I need to get my 10,000 steps, and more about I need to be out in nature and looking at things and being and seeing what I can see and getting out the four walls of my fucking house. This is not a David Goggins kind of sitch. Like, I swear to God, like, this is not me representing the protein industrial complex. Like, absolutely not. I think in this society, it's very difficult to be completely healthy. I take control over as much as I can take control of, and how I think that we as artists can add some of this stuff in our creative practice. Again, not focusing just on movement. So I have 3 different categories that I'm looking at for this video. I really wasn't able to be a strong artist until I kind of focused on this stuff first. So that's this episode. let's talk about medical care. This is going to be a really short thing because it's very personal to everybody. But I'll say this. There was a time where things weren't looking great. Things were not good in a lot of different ways medically. I really tried to churn out. This was a time where I was really writing for survival. Things were really tough in the industry. We were coming out of the strike. Shit wasn't popping off. Like, it was bad. Also was part of some protests during that time that were pretty intense. Free Palestine. I burnt myself out real bad. So a lot of chronic things flared up, potential autoimmune issues. Like, it was really bad. Remember a few weeks ago, the reason why I started Wonder Book, it was because I felt like I had given everything to that time and I'm not able to produce anything else, is because I squoze everything out during that time. I think the work that I produced, I'm gonna give respect to me back then, like, period. However, I wonder what the work that I produced, not under gunpoint, but under like kind of duress, I wonder what that would have looked like if I had more control over my physical health. So I was writing through a lot of pain, which is not necessarily unique to me. A lot of artists do, like Frida Kahlo famously. But I just wonder if I would have taken a beat to give myself grace, to take care of myself, and to figure out and go get tested what that artwork would look like. But I will honor that artwork. So I know as artists, we are very shy when it comes to the doctor. When it comes to, we're very shy in general. I think anybody, especially if you're marginalized, but anybody can go to the doctor and feel a sense of dread because we're not listened to all the time and we don't always have the right words, and you end up freaking out like, what's your pain from 1 to 10? God forbid you say 10. Now it's like, now you're an asshole. Very difficult to know how to advocate for yourselves, and I think as writers who work in relative isolation sometimes, and artists, you can feel very awkward advocating for yourself very out loud, which I think in the medical sense, sometimes we unfairly have to advocate for ourselves out loud. Our body is our creative vessel, and so everyone has different reasons to take care of themselves. I think even if you don't have any other reason to take care of yourself, some people it's their kids, some people it's blah, 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 some people it's their work. If you don't have any reason to take care of yourself, let it be because you want to create art. That being said, if you do live long enough, most of us will probably have a disability, develop a disability of some sort. So this is also this keeping up with what's going on internally and going to the doctor and getting things externally too, but like joints, well, that's internal, damn. All of these things kind of helps us keep track over what's going on and what could go on. And in the meantime, making sure that it helps us take care of what we have in our vessel now. That's not to say if you do have a disability or if you do have a chronic illness that you are not taking care of the vessel. That's not what I mean, because I'm sure you know more than the average person how important it is to keep track of what's going on in your body. So back to advocating for ourselves. Write down what you're experiencing in your day-to-day, kind of keep track over the pain and where that pain exists. I think you can incorporate this into your work. How can we keep track of our pain and even the positive things? Like, it doesn't just have to be pain. Like, you can tell the doctor, I feel good when I do this. Keeping track of what is going on in our body, incorporating that in some kind of writing, in journaling, which maybe one day we'll talk about how important journaling is to writing. Having a system so you're not just being met with a stone-faced doctor, not that they're all like that, but a stone-faced doctor being like, what's the issue? Okay. Having a creative way to keep track over where pain is, whether it's bullet journals, whether it's your notes app and just like writing things, although they're saying that your notes app gets tracked, so I don't know. Finding a way to incorporate, maybe every time you sit down, it doesn't have to be every day, maybe every time you sit down to do a little piece of writing, if you can't think of anything to write of, think about how your body has felt over the past few days. I've been feeling pain in my knee. I had a headache one of these days. And over time, you might have a greater sense of what your body feels like. Because if you're anything like me, once you get to that doctor, I'm great. You know, I could literally be on my deathbed the day before, and when I get to the doctor, it's like, it's giving Olympic runner. Like, you can't tell me shit. And it's a protective mechanism. I think incorporating your mind-body connection creatively might help to advocate, and collecting that data and bringing it to your doctor. I'm also a huge advocate for reading straight from whatever the fuck you wrote to the doctor, because again, as artists, I think it could be very difficult to advocate. Like, I always joke that I'm someone that if I get something's wrong on my order, I would rather lay down in the train tracks than tell the waiter. So I understand the issue, but when it comes to our bodies, we deserve to give ourselves a fair shot. And I can imagine, well, as someone with a chronic issue, it becomes super important to write down the pain days or flare-ups or XYZ, because, and then I'm a Black femme presenting person, which means that my pain doubly, triply, quadruply, I've seen it in action, does not get taken as seriously as someone else. And you almost not have to exaggerate, but you have to make sure that you don't let your mind tamp stuff down. If you are an artist of color, if you are a woman, if you are a trans person, I would highly recommend, and you're an artist, highly recommend, maybe this would work out for you. I'm gonna start trying it. I'm gonna start incorporating health checks, body checks, whatever you wanna call it, into my journaling and collecting it before the doctor. And I know, I live in America, if you don't know, if it's not obvious, and we, oh God, if we don't have a job, they want you to die. Like, that's pretty much it. So this is also not me dismissing the fact that it's very difficult for some people to get healthcare. Dental care is separate than healthcare, vision care. Like, can I tell you something? So I really need glasses and I really need contact lenses. Like, my vision is piss poor. But when I was in college, I couldn't afford to go to the eye doctor because I was still under my parents' insurance, but I had to go to the doctor in Wisconsin, and I was going to NYU. So I didn't have the money to go to the vision place because I didn't have a job. And so all of my senior year, I got used to just like, well, I guess I'm not gonna see because like I couldn't see. And so I would borrow for my thesis shoot, I swear to fucking God, I borrowed my friend's glasses because, like, you know, sometimes to see, like, it focuses, but you need to be able to like use your eye to focus it. And I couldn't fucking see. So I used my friend's glasses to see. So I get it. And I'm not gonna be dismissive and be like, just call your local so-and-so. Just know I hear you, I see you. I still think it's beneficial to keep track of health and what's going on. It includes mental health as well. When I had to do art during the hardest times of my life, when I was in a lot of pain and when I didn't feel like it was worth it to get checked out, or I felt like I could push through, because that's also a very ableist thing. Like, believe it or not, feeling like I don't have to do this. Like, I can just get over it. Like, okay, it'll go away on its own. I don't have to sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like, all of these kind of, what would you call it? Like, what do you call it? Like self-ableism? I don't know what you would call it, but it's kind of the system working against you, and it has gotten into your subconscious. And remember, last week we were talking about what comes up in our subconscious when we're writing. So all of these things and how you see yourself and your ability to take yourself seriously not only will impact what you create or make it difficult to create, but this stuff will also come back into your work, how you see yourself and how you take care of yourself and what you feel like you deserve, how you advocate yourself can come out in our work. So that's why I put medical stuff. It's also because medical, I think, influences what you can do next, which is this movement aspect of it. Knowing what's going on, knowing what, you know, chronic illnesses that you might have will impact what you can do next. But I think this is a great place to start. Next, movement. Not everybody needs to be running. It's not good for everybody's knees and everybody's joints. Not everybody needs to be boxing. Not everybody needs to be lifting weights at the gym. Like, everybody got different shit going on, and not everything can be for everybody. Sometimes we gotta do chair aerobics. Sometimes we can lift our legs in bed and that's all we can fucking do. But I'm advocating for a little bit of movement. Hear me out as an artist. Hear me out, hear me out. After I got my health kind of ish together, and by the way, I was forced to. It wasn't like I was like, it's time to take care of myself medically. So once we kind of got diagnoses here and there and everywhere, it was like, okay, now what? I couldn't push it out. I couldn't write. I didn't want to do it. I was very depressed. And I was literally as stiff as a board. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do shit. I don't have the energy to do shit. Fuck this. And my boyfriend advocated for taking walks, because his whole thing, and my therapist once told me as well, your brain can't really outthink itself, but a part of like the shifting your mind when you're in rumination or when you're kind of like fixated on something, this is more on the mental health thing, you don't outthink that. You start to move through that, and your movement will shape your thought. And I think as artists, learning how to shift energy both before our writing practice, during or after, is extremely important. And I learned that a lot of other authors did the same thing. I'm just reading off of this list because I can't remember everybody's fucking. Anyways, Ernest Hemingway boxed. It's saying Kathy Ackler was into bodybuilding. I can never pronounce his name. Murakami, you know. He developed a book while he was running. There's also a Stanford study where they tested a bunch of people, and it was argued, and I don't know if you can never argue that it's 100%, but what the fuck do I know? But 100% out of the study of people who were either kind of subjected to doing movement, like aerobic based things, versus just watching video, the creativity was boosted after movement. Now, the caveat is movement doesn't necessarily correlate to, well, it can't necessarily correlate to the actual act of like, I can formulate the words, the writing itself, but it's extremely beneficial in those early stages of creativity and potential problem solving. I'm sure you hear a lot of writers being like, I go on walks for 2 hours and I figure out my book. I'm not at that point. I have to listen to 2-hour podcasts about the Real Housewives because like I don't want to be alone with my thoughts. And it's important, like going back to that Wonder Book thing, like going out, and I can see how walking and observing nature can spark those creative thoughts and being curious, going outside. It's that shift of energy and it gets us out of our head. Also, if it's a post writing session, it shakes that kind of thing off. It's like yoga. So I do yoga. The whole thing with yoga is kind of like you're shifting onto the mat and you're not the same person that you were moments ago, and you kind of observe what your body feels like and what your mind feels like afterwards, because if you are kind of connected and you're tapped into that mind-body connection, you'll notice that energy shift, which I feel like when we're writing very heavy things, when we're kind of stuck on things, taking a beat away and moving around energy might knock something loose. It also can be a great form of aftercare. This week, I faced a bit of a lull. Like the weeks kind of prior, I had faced a bit of a lull in my movement and not being super consistent. But I noticed like when I got back into the gym and I kind of started feeling that again, I had a bunch more energy. And then I was like, I should talk about this to the group because like we need to talk about movement. I'm not letting y'all off the hook. But writing is very sedentary in general. Being an artist, but being a writer is very sedentary. I've developed sciatic pain. I don't know if it's necessarily from writing. I think it's from stress. Again, I understand kind of the effects that being sedentary, like sitting, whenever I do these videos, because I'm sitting for so long, I have to get up and move. Otherwise, I'm going to be all cramped up for a bit. So the nature of our work puts a bit of a strain on our body. It's not the same as like my collar blue, but not, it's not like that. Being sedentary is a bit detrimental to us as humans. And so it's just kind of to offset that and to give our bodies kind of like renewed movement. You could do anything. We're not all able to do the same thing. I do yoga and I bodybuild. I used to dance. I can't do that right now, but hopefully I'll get back into that. There's this guy that I follow on TikTok when I used to be on TikTok, and he's like a choreographer, and he does a lot of like chair-based movements and dances. As much as it is a physical thing, the movement is really associated with our mental state and like being able to keep ourselves functioning. And the reason why I started with this to begin with is because, again, it's like when you talk to writers, like especially like writers who do this shit professionally, it's like suddenly like now no one is able to like why aren't y'all can't walk? Well, hold on, because actually in the writer's room during lunchtime, one of the things that a lot of writers we would do, because we would get our lunches, go take a walk. And even though you don't want to take a fucking walk, those walks really were helpful, both for camaraderie, but also just to kind of like refresh and shake things loose. The reason why I put health first, like physical health first, is because that might control what you're able to do and what's safe for you to do. This week, I really went hard in the gym and I pushed myself. Like, here's a little shot of me in the gym. I went with my boyfriend and his friend, and they like kicked my ass. But seeing my progress and seeing that I can do something that was super hard, this is coming off of a really hard week creatively. It was just really nice to like see, to be reminded, because sometimes like, you know, getting any type of positive feedback or validation in art is very difficult, and it may not come for a very long while. But like seeing what I could do in the gym and like that I can try and like put my mind to something, and I, you know, it is that boost that I need working in a medium where you might not get validated for like months to a year. This last script I wrote, man, I was just begging for a crumb of validation, and I didn't get that shit for like almost a year on this project. When I finally got the like, you're good, it's like, I don't even want it no more. Because I have this method to keep myself accountable, making myself feel good in other ways other than my art, it's just super helpful. And it's something that's autonomous. It's something that you choose when you can do, how you do it. It's just getting your body moving, setting small little goals as far as like that, and it's just really helpful. We're moving energy, we're holding ourselves accountable, and we're showing ourselves that we can do something even when we're in mediums that don't reward us for jack shit. And just because we are our own physical vessels, the most that we can do is to give ourselves stability and mobility for as long as we possibly can, in whatever way that we possibly can. So get up! I'm not fucking playing that shit. They're like, oh, I'm just a writer. Like, I don't care about sports and activities. Too bad. Pick something. I don't care. Get up. Move a limb. Move a toe. Do something. Whew. Today at the gym, I did upper body, and it was a quite horrible creative writing day. Going to the gym, while it's a wretched thing to do, but I feel so much better, and I don't think I have the energy to write, but I just needed it as a mental boost to try again tomorrow. And we just need things to help us try again tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And finally, the third thing, which is the kind of the most, is laughter. I know. We are all so moody and we are all so dark, and it's giving very much like, you know, and I write about the macabre. I get a sick thrill when I can figure out how to describe rot and decay and depression in new ways. The reason why I have it as a part of health, and this is again a biased perspective because this is just what works for me. A, we are social creatures. B, I think a lot of us could do for incorporating community and joy into our life. It keeps our mind sharp. We have people to bounce things off of, like having a group that you go to and that you care about, playing Dungeons and Dragons, if that's your thing, like you're doing a group sport and like activity. going out, partying, if that's your thing, you're moving your body. As much as I am my friends say I'm not shy, so I don't know what the fuck I am. I think I just hate people. As much as I'm someone that would love to be alone, I have participated in, organizational work, volunteer work, collaborative things enough where I know truly the best things in life, some of the best things in life are experienced with other people. I think for those of us who write really intense things, myself included, if I tend to kind of go into very dark topics when I'm writing. I think in order to write about the dark, you kind of have to experience the light a little bit. You have to understand the nuance of the dark in perspective to small moments of light. I'm trying to be aware of things like depression and things and chronic illnesses that do keep you very isolated and you're not necessarily able to be a part of a group. With that, I'd say I hope that the internet and community, I use that word lightly because that can be very triggering, but spaces online and like your favorite creators that can make you laugh, if it's not like a community, like people online and your favorite videos and your favorite movies, just like some kind of connection that brings you a little bit of joy. We can't just exist in this house of darkness. Like it's giving, that's how we end up writing the same shit, different font, and the same stale shit. Again, let's go back to Wonder Book. So in a part of this Wonder Book thing, I'm gonna hopefully, because I hate having to record this shit later, but look, as a part of the inspiration outputs, can you see? Look, friends are a part of immediacy. This thing of friends and family is kind of a part of immediacy, and it's also sometimes a part of the things that hurt us the most that we can write about. Your imagination thrives best when you live in the moment and you fully experience everything that's going on around you. Even a fantasy writer requires stimuli from the surrounding world. Anything has the potential to be transformed, or to provide the grace of believability that makes a story a success or failure. Live in the moment may be a cliche, but is increasingly important to remind writers in the age of social media that you must be engaged to be a good writer. Yeah, that's my opinion on kind of the third, which I guess the word would be like spiritual care. There is like an internal soul aspect to health, and I think laughter is my favorite part of being alive. Like, it's like, woo! This past week, I went out a few different times. It's less about partying and more about, like, I went to this 2000s party and it was giving very much Gen Z's interpretation of the 2000s, because I'm like, why are we playing for a Y2K party? Why are we playing 2013 Ariana Grande? But the whole point was not for me to experience my childhood again. The whole point was for me to laugh with friends and get movement at the same time. Like, I also want to acknowledge digital spaces. So there's VR that I kind of really, I'm not a VR person quite yet. Like, it gives me the spin. Like, I can appreciate these like, VR chat and like online chat rooms that sometimes are the only ways for people to kind of get outside community. I'm just here to express that, finding a bit of, and I'm not trying to be like, I live, laugh, love, but finding camaraderie and laughter and moments of joy, you know, that helps us tap back into the darkness. Order Korean fried chicken. Ooh, that sounds so good. Chocolate, cat. I don't like chocolate. Vanilla, cats, friends, volunteering, moments that can like keep us up, you know? We gotta keep us up. I had a depression song in 2023, which was arguably one of the worst years of my life. And it was like a real depression song. It was nightmares it's a metal song, Nightmares by Not Enough Space, and like that was my depression song. So I was depressed, and like that was like and then I would only listen to like this song, and it was so sad. And then in 2020, that was 2024. Coming out of 2023, that was my depression song. And then in 2025, I discovered I gotta stay lifted. Like if I'm surviving this shit and I'm writing about this dark shit, I gotta stay lifted. And so it became Whim Whammy, party song of the summer. I listen to that shit every single day on the way to the gym. That's all I really have. This week was just a reminder that movement and activity is how I personally stay afloat as an artist. It's okay to put the pen down and like focusing on health and wellness in different ways. So let's see, creative update. Nothing really. It was steady, you know, my Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We know my schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. I have my second person class. Second person is fascinating. Fascinating. The part of my book that's told from the monster is in second person, and it's fascinating. I had no idea it could be like this. It was a bit of like we're just tugging along kind of week. We're handwriting still. I'm still reading my book that I don't feel like getting right now, because if I bend over, I might pass out. I gotta lay down. I'm not writing tonight. No. Tomorrow's Monday. I'll write tomorrow. I'm not. So anyways, I will see you next week. Thank you everyone for being here, and for the people that comment like that and have subscribed. I have not been like, comment, and subscribe, because this is kind of new. But I really appreciate people that do. It's really nice to see like, okay, there's some people popping in and out. Like that's not nothing to me. Like spending any amount of time with anybody is not nothing. And as someone that never wants to spend time with anybody, I know this is not nothing. So anyway, I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.